right, so today I have Peter Lawson from Australia on the summit today. And Peter, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I guess things all started way back in 1980. That's when I started my first accounting practice, actually. I was very young, age 25, quite young to be practicing accounting in Australia. So that's where I started. That's where my roots are in accounting. I'm a numbers guy, and I'll tell you a little bit of what happened after that. But when I started accounting, I actually practiced for 22 years. I built and sold 3 accounting practices during that time. I quite enjoyed building them up. I didn't like managing them. So as simple as that. But I sort of give myself a break every 7 years or so. Get that, you get that 7-year itch. I sort of give myself a break every 7 years, and the third break I had was permanent. So, yeah, and that's basically what I did. I quite enjoyed that. But we went through a period. We had a recession in Australia. It was a pretty daunting recession, and during that period, a lot of my clients were suffering, and that's where I got my big wake-up call, Marnie. I felt personally responsible for the fact that they shouldn't have been suffering. Right up to that point, I was an accountant, like a typical accountant that says, "Oh, I minimised the tax." Everybody wants to talk about minimising tax. It's the greatest load of rubbish that is ever known to man. Small businesses, yeah, we'll minimise the tax, but let's make the money first.
Yes.
And you know what? During a recession, I could tell you, there's no talk of tax because there's no income. Simple as that. So I felt personally responsible. And, the reason my clients have pretty good businesses, but the fact was they'd taken their eye off the ball a little bit, and their customers weren't able to pay them. They weren't able to pay their customers. And so it's a domino effect that happened. It was quite severe. So I took it on personally then to help them around the other side of that. And I managed to do so. But it was at that point I said, forget about tax. I've got tax people in my office. They can deal over there. I am going to help small business. I'm going to help them with fiscal management. It just became so obvious to me. See, Marnie, had I been on the ball, had I been talking to those clients about their debtors, their accounts receivable, the age of them, collecting them, had I been talking about their stock, and had I been nailing them about their numbers every month on a regular basis, keeping them accountable, none of that would have happened, I can assure you. And that's what I'm about now. I don't want that to happen anymore. So then I had a practice purely, you could not be a client of the practice unless you had regular accounts prepared. And we charge a little more than most, of course, because of that service. But all my clients deemed my coaching fees not to be a cost, but to be an investment.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what you want to be. You want to be on the right side of it.
Well, correct. When I retired from accounting, from practice, it was 2002. I decided to help accountants. I helped accountants with making their practices a bit more efficient, but with a view to them helping their small business owners more, with fiscal management. I did that for a while. I still tend to do it, but honestly, trying to teach accountants something is like herding cats. It's just not going to work. My cats are easier to herd than them. But anyway, I won't go into that. But I'm really annoyed with the accounting profession for not taking this ball and running with it. And I hope that with this crisis we've got on now, which is worldwide, they will get the picture. The thing is, I wanted to help them to help small business. So then I decided I'm going to practice what I preach and what I taught. And then I bought a couple of businesses, and I bought those businesses not very long after I bought those 2 businesses, which were really down in the dumps and not going so well. The little thing called the GFC happened. You might recall that in the history of America. And but during that time, that 4-year span that we went through, I held those companies for those businesses. I managed to build them and sell them. One was sold for 3 times more than what I paid for it. So I'm not bragging about things, but I'm just saying, practice what you preach, And so I did that. I had, I quite enjoyed that, and I quite enjoyed the day I bought it, and I quite enjoyed the day I left. I was fine, but I still keep in touch with those people. But so then I went on from there, and I decided I want to go and help small business. They need our help, and I decided to start coaching. So then, with that in mind, I was going okay, you know, but and helping them mainly with their numbers, you know, talking about their numbers, keeping them in track and managing and keeping them honest, so to speak. So keeping them accountable, I think they say. So that was all well and good, but it kept coming back to the point. Pete, you keep telling us we've got to put our gross profit ratio up. It's got to increase. Pete, and it all boils. We've done everything we can. We've looked at reducing the stock. We've talked to our purchase suppliers. We've done all that. But Pete, the last thing left is sales. How do we increase that? I couldn't answer the question. So I thought I'd better have an answer to that question. So I went out and I sought the resources. I looked. Okay, so money. I mentioned I had to find some tools, and I searched worldwide to find the appropriate tools for coaching and some marketing content and everything. I had no idea about marketing. I don't know how I grew those businesses. But anyway, the classic is I did get those resources. I did get that training, and that was going back more than 8 years now. And I'm with the same organisation. The beauty of it is I can now combine some marketing instincts, some business growth strategies, some goal setting items, etc. Combine that with looking at the numbers. Yeah, I even went further from there. I had a meeting with the chairman of our organisation. I decided I wanted to coach more coaches so I could get to more small business owners. And now I coach business. I coach coaches in the USA and Canada.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have 22 coaches, and there's 19 of those are in the USA and Canada, and 3 of them are in Australia still. So that's what I do now. That's what I really have a passion for doing. I have a marvelous group of coaches. My coaches are now saying, we're so busy, Pete. We've got more demand than we've ever had. And it's great. People are realizing they need a coach, a good coach. But we're getting our coaches. Also, there's some business owners that are really struggling, and they are giving them free coaching for 3 months.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what our community is like. We just get out there and help people, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help.
Humans are pretty amazing when it comes down to it.
Oh yeah, it's just that's the best reward you'll ever have. Yep. You know, my biggest consulting fee I ever had was when somebody thanked me in front of about 10 people. I was at a charity event. I was the actual auctioneer at a charity event, you know, black tie affair and, you know, all that and all hoo-has. And I was standing with a group of people. This lady walked across the room and excused herself and shook my hand and said, "Thank you for giving my husband back." And then she said about telling them what difference I made to her husband's life and took all his stress away and improved his business and everything. That was the biggest consulting fee I've ever received in my life, I've got to say.
You know, that happened to me once as well. It was a little bit different though. This woman said to me, "What have you done to my husband?"
Oops.
And I'm like, I didn't do anything. He's so much better.
He was broken. Now you fixed him. I love it.
I don't think I did anything bad. So yeah, pretty crazy. That's wonderful. And so having your own business, how has that changed your life?
Well, I've really been unemployed, to be quite honest, mate. I haven't been employed since age 25, and I'm a tad over 25 now.
Yeah.
So you add 22 on to 25, you get a bit of an idea. No, I've never had a job. What difference it made in my life? Well, I've never known anything different than living on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
I do not live in my comfort zone too well. I'm not comfortable in my comfort zone. There's always got to be something happening. There's always, if things are going along too smoothly, I want to rock the boat of it, you know? And that's why I love business. That's why I love dealing with coaches. I've got my coaches not on edge so much, but I've got them thinking all the time. And in all honesty, I do love a recession. It's a great time to sweep the floors, tidy everything up, and people have got time on their hands to come up with ideas.
And they also are in a mindset of what do we do now, rather than just doing the what's the word that I'm looking for? What is that word that means the same all the time? And it's
well, it's actually the definition of going crazy, isn't it? Didn't Albert Einstein say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result?
The status quo. That's it.
Status quo. Oh, okay. Yep.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
When everything breaks down, there is no status quo, right? And
Yep.
so at that moment of complete breakdown, there's, well, what else is there? What do we do now? And
Yep.
that's what I'm hoping. I'm actually really grateful that this summit is happening right now,
Sure.
because it's really one of those critical times when we can kind of blow everything up and go, okay, how do we put it back together again so that it can be a better life for us? And
Well, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So
We're seeing amazing results with some businesses. Some
yeah,
business owners' money that thought their business was finished their businesses have now lit up.
that's wonderful.
I'll give you an example. There was a butcher shop, but one of my coaches had a guy with a butcher shop, and he said, I'm gone, retail shop, boom, nobody's coming. Well, cut a long story short, we put it into an online business
Yeah.
with a free delivery, just a drop-off delivery sort of thing. And the client now said to his coach, well, you just made me $80,000 because I'm not going back in the shop. My lease is expired. I'm not going to pay rent anymore. I don't need to. I can do this all from home. It even got better. This is what I love about people thinking. He even got smarter than that. He even got onto the abattoirs and said, will you pack meats for me and send it direct? And they said yes. There you go. There's a guy, and now he sells more meat in 4 hours than he sells in a day.
I know. Isn't that crazy? That's
Yep.
that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell us, in working with your clients and yourself, how do you help them, or get for yourself, how do you get clarity?
How do we get clarity? Well, we have a number of ways of that. We get clarity really by drilling down and finding our superpowers.
Yeah.
You've got to find your superpower, which is your market dominating position. I
Mm-hmm.
guess in some terms you call it a USP, unique selling proposition.
Yep.
We determine that. Once we determine why people come to us and not to them,
Mm-hmm.
why people come to me and not to you, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have that, we've got a clear picture of what we are, our
Mm-hmm.
superpower, and then we have to get a clear picture on who we can help. And I think you and I have had this discussion before, Marnie.
Yeah.
If people don't want your help, you can't help them.
No.
So there's no point targeting people who don't want your help.
Yeah.
So we drill down, and therefore our coaches are very efficient with what they do. They don't waste a lot of time or money, for that matter, looking for something that they shouldn't be looking for.
Right.
In other words, if somebody rang one of my coaches and said, I want to buy 4 truck tires, they wouldn't say, yeah, I'll get that organised for you. They'll just say, I don't sell truck tires. It's as easy as that. Yeah, so that's what I really get them to focus and stay focused. And that's part of what I really do with them.
Yeah.
A lot. I spend more time working on keeping them strong up here. And the strength and confidence then flows through. It's a lot of mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fortunately have, my wife is an NLP master and mindset coach.
I love NLP.
And and she's just unbelievable. And if I have any of my coaches that have got an issue, I pay for their session with her.
That's great. Yeah, I did NLP down in New Zealand when I was 25. I used to smoke
a couple of years ago.
That's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A pack of cigarettes a day. I did NLP over a series of sessions with this woman, and I never smoked again a day in my life.
Yeah.
She was just phenomenal. And so whenever anybody asks me about that, I'm like, go get NLP hypnosis. It's the only way.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess it's not the only way, but the fact is we all have these limiting beliefs, and if somebody's got them and you're trying to work with them and move them forward, you can't get them forward until you get the blockage out of the way.
Yeah.
I whip them into the professor, and they generally have a few more sessions where they have to pay for their own sessions beyond that one, but I pay for the first one. I get a little bit of a discount, I think. Anyway.
I hope so.
The main thing is we've got to do what we can to help people. And that's, again, your clarity. you know what you have available, you know what these people need. They aren't aware of it. Do it whichever way you have to
Yeah.
get them where they want to go.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so speaking of getting them where you want to go,
Yep.
what about power? So when I talk about power, I mean like willpower, because as you and I know, as business owners, there are days when things are not going right. And where do you find the power to continue on when things aren't going right, or when you're having a bad day? What is it that gives you your power back?
Okay. Let's face it, Marnie, when you're in business, there's no hiding under rocks. If you're having a bad day, you've still got to turn up, and with a smile and everything else. I think the power that we've got now, we've got a large organisation with a lot of coaches, and we do have a lot of support there. But just within my own business, my own coaching business, my coaches, I think we have power within. We have power in our community. There's no. The other thing with my coaches too, well, how do I get myself back on track? I probably give myself a few slaps around the face and say, wake up yourself, get back in the chair. I would tend to go for a walk, air my head, don't have any headphones on or anything, just go for a walk, just clear myself. I do a lot of meditation in the mornings. That is prevention better than the cure.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't have too many bad days, Marnie, because what I really do is I focus on getting the right people on board that I love and I really want to help. And every day, every call that I have coming from my coaches, it's just, oh, great, I'm going to talk to so-and-so. Here's what I do with my coaches. We do have formal meetings, but we have what's called an SOS call. They can check into my calendar and my calendar link and book a 15-minute call. If they've got something, there's an itch they can't scratch.
Got it.
They also have their fellow coaches, but they come to me and there's not a problem. I have never been stumped to solve a problem in 15 minutes with any of my coaches.
That's awesome.
That I think, because I've got to be strong for them, I've got to be strong for me too.
And so I think what I hear you saying is that by emptying your head, right, with the mindfulness, with the meditation, with the walking. And it's interesting that this is becoming a common pattern with the speakers in the summit. Is they say that the way they get clarity is by emptying their head, and then that brings the clarity. And it's interesting, the distinction that you put on it is get help if you can't get clear yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Something you reminded me of there too, Marnie, and what I've started doing is on Mondays now, which is your Sunday, okay? So nobody's calling me on Sunday, but I have what's called a think day. I do nothing on Mondays other than think. I start the day by a meditation session. I'll go for a walk in the park, fresh air, no headphones on, no nothing. I read some books. I read regularly, but on the Mondays, I generally tend to read for a bit longer. I just think all day.
Yeah.
I just think about stuff. I do all my administration on the Monday as well. So I don't do any administration any other day. This Monday, and I tell you what, I do preach this to everybody, have a day off a week to yourself. Be selfish. And it ain't a weekend, it's a weekday. It is part of your business week to have that day and be good for people. That way, prevention is better than the cure. You'll always have your power there to be there to help others.
Absolutely. That day for me is Wednesday, normally.
Okay. Yep.
However, we're meeting on a Wednesday, on my Wednesday, and that's because this summit's kind of special. But I don't, and my little monster, just a little monster, hopefully he'll calm down.
By the way, COVID virus, do you have separation rules in America for COVID virus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we better keep our 1.5 distance. Okay.
That's awesome.
That's our doggy break, guys.
When I had it, earlier,
Yeah.
yeah, I had it, and I was talking to my clients, and they're like, "Well, thank God we do everything remotely."
Well, that's the beauty of my business. It's been virtual forever.
Yeah,
Even in the States, it's virtual.
yeah,
Coaches talk to me about, and what would my territory be? I say to them, well, because we are a virtual business, your territory is actually planet Earth.
yeah.
And if you can find somebody on Mars, you can go there as well. So up to you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So carrying on from that power,
Yes.
if we've got clarity and
Yep.
we have our power now, what structure do you put in place for yourself or even for your coaches to help with follow through?
Okay. I think that brings us down to having a system in place.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks I've got a great memory. No, I've got a good system.
Yes,
So
me too.
Follow through. I implore anybody in business. The wealth of a business is its database.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've got to control and manage that database. Okay. So everybody you meet, everybody you talk to, everybody you come in touch with that's on your target, whatever, go straight into what we call a CRM system. I'm sure you've heard of those things.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So you get a proper one.
Yeah.
Get one that reminds you, that has a little call, 7 o'clock, you go to your computer, you're doing, and it goes, bing, Pete, you got to call so-and-so today.
Yeah.
You got to talk to them about this. And that CRM system also saves the memory bank. So you mentioned before clearing the head. This keeps my head clear. I rely on that. If it breaks down, yeah, I'm uncomfortable, but why bother spending 3 hours longer doing things or clogging up my head when maybe a 1 hour mishap can be overcome. So we rely heavily on the CRM.
Yeah.
I also rely heavily on my team around me. As they say in the classics, you are very hard to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys. You've got to have your dream team. My dream team is, a team that my assistant conducts as well. She looks after that. She makes sure I don't forget things. And we put everything on the CRM. I'm having a chat with you. I'm going to put this on the CRM.
Absolutely.
Because next time we pick up, I'm going to say, hey, did we get to that follow-up thing? So when you're talking about follow-up and follow through, etc., you've got to have a systemized thing that makes sure that there's very little sneaks through the cracks.
Yeah,
that's I guess that's all I've got to say. I mean, I'll tell you, in relation to follow-up, proofs in the power in the pudding and the power of follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a think about this, Marnie. You've just done a workshop or whatever, and you send the people a few emails and you send them a book or whatever, and then you don't ring them up. So if you ring them up, you're going to have about 75% better chance of them wanting to do more things with you.
Yeah.
Because people take a few times to get the drip happening. I call it the 7 drip theory. You're laying in bed and you hear the laundry sink going plomp, plomp. Oh no! But about on the 7th plomp, it goes clonk.
Yeah.
And it's gone. That's what I call the 7 drip theory. It really 7 to 12 touches with people to remind them you're around, and that's all about follow-up, nurture. It's important.
Absolutely. And these days with Messenger,
yes.
That is, the open rates and conversion rates are so much higher on Messenger as compared to email. Text is really high as well.
Right.
So yeah, that's all in what I do on the other side, which is the tech side of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I know you're very technical. Okay.
Yeah,
so what else
but it's good to know that and so many times in the summit we have talked about having freedom and structure, right? Mm-hmm. By having those structures in place, we get a lot more freedom, right?
Sure. That's it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
People that fear becoming or relying too much on on technology. I mean, you get these people that say, "Oh, damn internet," and they say, well, "Might as well just go back to the old way." So if you do it the old way, you'd still be doing it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be there. You wouldn't be where you are now. You've got to have a few breakdowns. That's okay. It's all part of the deal. I never get brushed with that sort of stuff. I either call my assistant and she calls the IT buddy or whatever and the guy, and they sort it out. But I'm not about to learn how to work those things out. It's not my forte.
Yeah.
My thing's about getting to people and helping them. And if I'm fiddling around, messing around, trying to work out an IT problem, that ain't going to help anybody. You've obviously heard of SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
Annie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, you know the W. What does that stand for?
I can't remember it off the top of my head. Tell me again.
It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And here's the situation. Everybody will say, they all say when they go through that process, "Oh, now we're going to work on these weaknesses." I say, you don't touch the bloody weaknesses. They're staying there. They're going to stay there. I don't want to play with them. I'm just going to work on the S model, and I'm going to reduce the threats, and I'm going to take all the opportunities. But the weaknesses, I'll employ people to fix those.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter. It was such a pleasure having you on today.